on 11 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome everybody in Redbourn to the Redbourn Community Call. As you probably noticed, I am not Simon Vegro. I'm Chris Emmel, a neighbour of Simon, who this week is on Holland Community Call, is organised by a local group called Active in Redbourn. The calls are free, and as a result of generous donations from many Redbourn, thank you to everybody who's donated to keep the calls free. The Parish Council is giving us a grant so that we'll be able to continue the calls through until the end of 2020. The end of 2020. Now that sounds good, doesn't it? The call is also available live on Redbourner's Facebook page, and afterwards can be found as a recording on there and also on the Active in Redbourn website. As usual, everybody apart from today's speakers are on mute, so you can make as much noise as you like. The call's been going on now since April. It seems a long, long time ago, but I've got particularly interesting morning this morning. I shall be speaking to Ellie Stevens from the Barefoot Accountant in the High Street, Will Gibbs, the Vicar of St Mary's, with his thought for the week, and every week he makes me think, which I guess is the point. Then we'll be joined by Annette Sudbury-Smith and her colleague Colleen, who will discuss our local care home, St Matthew's, and I'm looking forward to that. So, let's get on with it. Ellie, good morning.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Good. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
So, as I've told everybody, isn't it? As I've told everybody that you are the Barefoot Accountant on the High Street.
Yep.
Let me just ask you, what made you want to become an accountant?
Well, actually, I really wanted to get into the music industry, and I thought it would be quite an easy kind of way to get into working for a record label.
All right, wonderful.
Essentially, I found out actually my grandfather and auntie are both accountants, and it tends to run in the family, that kind of skills. So yeah, that's how I ended up being an accountant.
That's the best reason for a career I'd ever heard, actually, I have to say. I'm going to ask you a silly question now, but I'm hoping that you don't think it's silly.
Okay.
What exactly is an accountant?
Well, it's actually not silly because it's quite a broad. Covers quite a broad term. So it's basically helping people to understand figures. It's doing tax returns. It's helping people to forecast figures for their business, to understand where their costs are going, to understand how they can make more money. And anything to do with figures and business and personal finances as well. So it covers such a broad area. We sort of specialise we do self-assessment returns, and we specialise in small limited companies as well. So it's a more specialist area than working for say a large corporation. Does that explain it?
Yeah, that's good. I've come across a number of accountants in my time, and I have to say that it's a very broad church, what I've seen, from some who are very, very sort of detail conscious to others that are, shall we say, a little more creative. So it's quite an interesting group of people. Can you ask me, what value does a good accountant add that an average one does not?
So I think, in terms of sort of what we offer, so an average accountant, could just be preparing the tax returns and preparing the figures, and that's it. What we will do is look at the figures, see if there's anything else you can claim. We also we keep on top of all the software that's available and apps. So there's loads of apps that can help people. We actually turn some business away by referring them to other apps. If we don't think we can save people money, we'll go, right, okay, there's an app that can do it for you. You're quite competent. It will record everything. You can send invoices through it. Come back to us when your business is growing, and we can save you some money. But for now, just go. So it's finding the right solution for people to help them run their business, and means that they can run their business and not really be worrying about the figures and accounting so much. So that's what we try and do, because people don't really like figures.
They like the money, but not the numbers. You're right.
Yeah.
You've actually got quite an interesting business and quite an interesting client base. I mean, how is your business different from other practices in terms of your clients?
Well, so I think, so I said right at the beginning, the reason why I wanted to become an accountant was to go to the music industry. So when that didn't happen, I thought, right, why don't I create a business that gets me, that means I can help musicians. So we have, and so we don't just help musicians. We help anybody on the creative spectrum, I suppose. So it's anybody that needs a bit of a different service. So traditional accounting practices are quite, give the impression of being quite kind of staid, quite formal, suited, and can be really quite terrifying for quite a lot of people. So we're trying to kind of break those barriers down, and that's one of the reasons for having a shop front, is so that people can just kind of poke their head around and say hello. So anyone who passes us when the new shop is open, feel free just to kind of just come in and wave with a friendly bunch, and we want it to be accessible, I suppose, and that people can just ask us questions and feel more relaxed with it. Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting, actually. Yes, I remember I've in my work life, I had an accountant who I'm still friends with, and all I can remember is that she would see a pattern in a page of numbers where all I could see was randomness. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's almost as if she had X-ray vision, and she could just see something that was just, when she pointed it out, I could almost see it myself. But it's more than just a learned skill. There needs to be an innate skill in there as well, I think. Now,
definitely, because they tell a story. Yeah, figures tell a story.
Exactly, and I never learned to read figures. That was the problem. How about COVID? How has that affected your business and your clients' businesses?
So our business has been, so we're all set up with laptops so we can work from anywhere, and I set that up deliberately when we first started out because all of our team are parents, so it gives that flexibility. So in terms of working, we could just up sticks and work from home and look after the children, so that wasn't too bad. It was quite crazy for the first couple of months with all the government schemes that were coming into place. That kept us really busy. But apart from that, we're pretty much business as usual, apart from not being in the office. Our clients, on the other hand, because they're all creative, there's a lot of people in the events industry, nothing happening there. It's people in the wedding industry, dance schools. I mean, pretty much all of our clients have not been working for the last 5 months, which is, which is concerning, but with them being creative, they're finding different ways of making money. So some of the musicians have been doing different, like limited runs of merchandise, been doing live stream gigs. Some are doing ticketed live stream gigs now on Facebook and social media. So they're taking their skills and just going, right, okay, so we can't do the live performances that we normally do. How can we still make money? How can we make it work? And some of them have been incredibly successful at it, which is great. So yes, the nature of them being creative means that they're finding a different way to do it, which is lovely.
It'll be interesting to see the output of COVID-19 in 10 years' time. There'll be so many things that will change in business and in life and everything, and it'll all be pushed this year. 2020 will be a year that will go down.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And finally, what's it? I mean, you live in the same village as you've got a business. What's it like living in the same village? Is there any?
I love it because you just get to know everybody. And I've always lived in cities. I never thought that I'd be happy living in a village, I have to say. But it's nice because you walk down to work and the guys at the bike loft tell me off if I've got shoes on and I'm not wearing bare feet, and then Ivan will go past and you wave when he's walking his dogs, and you get to know everybody, which is really nice. I really, really like it. And people, you feel part of the community and you can just get involved in everything. I think it's great. I wouldn't change it for anything. And obviously the environmental impact of my commute, walking 2 minutes down the road is much better than travelling anywhere. So ticks all the boxes.
We're probably going to find out we're neighbours, and I didn't realise, but never mind. I'll bring you some socks in when the weather turns cold. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, but Ellie, thank you very, very much. That's really good. I hope you're going to hang on and listen to the rest of the phone call.
Absolutely, I will, yes.
Lovely. And now, Will, are you there?
I am, yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know really what to say to introduce you. I think everybody knows you more than they know me. So over to you, Will.
It's great to be here. Thank you. In the Book of Common Prayer, the Church of England's 1662 service book, there's an intriguing prayer found within the section of prayers and thanksgivings. It's a prayer to be used, and I quote, in the time of any common plague or sickness. And it goes like this. Almighty God, who in thy wrath did send a plague upon thine own people in the wilderness, for their obstinate rebellion against Moses and Aaron, and also in the time of King David, did slay with the plague of pestilence 70,000, and yet remembering thy mercy did save the rest. Have pity upon us miserable as sinners, who now are visited with great sickness and mortality, that like as thou didst then accept of an atonement, and didst command the destroying angel to cease from punishing, so it may now please thee to withdraw from us this plague and grievous sickness, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. It is an extraordinary prayer that jars and jolts our modern sensibilities. It's quite stark and uncompromising in its language, and I'm left reflecting on the circumstances in which this prayer was composed. Being part of the Book of Common Prayer means that it was written no later than the middle of the 17th century, and possibly much earlier, at a time when plague and common sickness were, well, pretty common, and cures non-existent. Clearly Cranmer and other contributors thought it necessary to include such a prayer. What struck me about this prayer, despite its language, is that it's actually full of humility. It gives the sense that the people of the time knew that they could do nothing but throw themselves on the mercy of God. Have pity upon us miserable sinners, it says, who now are visited with great sickness and mortality. You wouldn't find such a prayer in contemporary liturgical texts and modern services. Yet the coronavirus pandemic has truly humbled us. A tiny, invisible virus is wreaking havoc across the world. Countless people are sick, far too many are dying, the economy is struggling, livelihoods have been lost, and humanity has been forced to hide behind locked doors. That word, humble, is interesting. We often think of it in a rather negative way, as if being humble is doing ourselves down. But the word has its origins in the Latin for hummus, not the stuff that posh people have with avocado and sourdough bread. It means earth or ground. It reminds us of the creation poem in Genesis, which tells of how God created Adam from the hummus. Indeed, Adam is the Hebrew equivalent of hummus. Humility is about having a healthy sense of our own frailty, and we're certainly learning that now as a human race. Humility is literally the thing that keeps us grounded, that brings us back down to earth, sometimes with a very painful bump. But that's not actually such a bad thing. Coronavirus has perhaps made us realize that we might have been getting above ourselves as a human race, and that we all, as individuals, need to be humble now and again. Perhaps we've thought of ourselves as better or as more deserving of something than someone else. Perhaps we've been slow to listen and quick to jump in with our much more superior viewpoint. Perhaps we've been too proud to accept criticism or to ask for help. Perhaps we've been slow to admit that we might be wrong about a person or about a situation. But there's an even deeper meaning in this word hummus. as any gardeners listening will know. It's the organic matter in soil, the rich stuff that provides nutrients for plants to grow and flourish. Being humble is also about returning to our true selves to find the humus, the rich ground deep within our being. And when we come back to our true selves, it is from this place that wonderful things can grow. The question is, what is the thing that can enable us to be humble, to stay grounded, to cultivate our humus? Well, the answer is love. Being truly humble springs from a deep understanding that we are loved and that we can remain rooted and grounded in that love. We don't need to pretend to be anything more than we are, because who we are is beloved. And in being our true selves, we can give to the world the gifts that actually only we can bring, each of us. When and how have we wandered from the humus, the sure ground of our true selves? And what led us away, I wonder? What wonderful things might grow in the humus, the rich soil of our being, for the benefit of a world that has been truly humbled? These might be good questions to ponder, if we are humble enough to do so.
Wow. You never fail to impress, Will, I have to say. That was lovely. It really was. That whole idea about greatness coming out of humility is a wonderful and wonderful concept, and listening and just being part of the world.
I
Thank
think
you.
so. Yeah, no, and I don't know if anybody saw the documentary about Princess Anne last night. At one level, she lives a hugely privileged life as a royal in this country, and yet her feet are so firmly on the ground and gets alongside people and the 300 charities she supports. And I think there's something very compelling about that, about the humility that actually recognises that actually at the end of the day we're all flesh and blood. Nobody's more important than anybody else. And I love the fact that in Redbourn people are valued and special, and I love that sense of community here in this village.
Yes, it is quite special. I think you said at one point that we punch above our weight.
I think so. Yeah, I really do. I don't say that as sort of an arrogant thing. I just something to celebrate and rejoice in.
Okay, well, thank you, and look forward to hearing you next week. And,
you're always welcome, Chris. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And now I'd like to invite Annette and Colleen. Are you both there?
We are.
Yes.
Hopefully Colleen is.
I'm here.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
There was half a second there where I thought I might have to start singing a song, and you wouldn't want that. Right. Well, as I said, you from rather a large care home in Redbourn. I'm sure you're going to talk about. Could you just give me a quick history of St Matthew's in Redbourn?
Yes, I can give you some history on St Matthew's. It was actually built on the site of Brook Bond, which closed down in 1996. And we have some of the staff are still from Brook Bond, are working at St Matthew's to this day. St Matthew's is named after the chairman's son, Matthew, who is now 20. We're part of a group called B&M Care, who've been in operation over 40 years. And St Matthew's is one of the larger homes. In 2018, we had a new wing that was opened called Bluebells, which accommodates people with low care needs. If you're driving past, you can see that there's an orangery at the front of the home, and that's one of the areas that they use to do activities. We have accommodation for 75 residents in
70?
four areas of the home, bluebells being one.
So it doesn't feel like it's very big. I mean, although it's 75 people, that's massive. But
Yes,
if you've got,
it sounds a lot. Yeah,
but
it
you've got
sounds a
four
lot of
different-
people. But having the 4 areas, each area has their own community, and they have their own self-contained gardens and patios. So people can go out and exercise and enjoy the outdoors, particularly at the moment. So there's lots of, gardens, particularly in the areas where we have people with dementia. There's sensory herbs and plants that are in the flower beds. We've also been delivered this wonderful cottage that the chairman has built called Rosa's Retreat, and which we're using for trips. We can't obviously go out on trips like we would normally because of the COVID situation, so we're using the cottage to have our trips out, and using the inside and the garden. I think they've been making mocktails and outside exercise classes. So things are happening within the home.
Excellent. And the cottage
Yeah.
is in the garden. Is the cottage in the gardens, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Oh, lovely.
It's got a thatched roof.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I remember when my mum when she was in a care home and she used to get her hair done, and she was happy that she was convinced she'd gone out to get her hair done, and it was the making of her day, and things like that really do improve the quality of life, which is so important, isn't it?
That's right. It's just a different surroundings.
Exactly, and it's just
Yeah.
some fun. So what other organisations in Redbourn do you work with?
Well, I know that we have just been part of the Redbourn Horticultural Society, so we have videoed our plants and herb gardens, so we have entered that competition, and the home has been entering the competition for several years. We also have links with St Luke's School.
Interesting.
Yes. In normal times, of course, children would be coming here.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good for both, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We also have links with U3A, which is a local community group, where they hold talks on different subjects, and they have social events going on. Sorry.
That's all right. You're probably more integrated than I am into this community. Now, tell me. I think I've got a question for both of you, which is what's the best part of working in a care home? But before that, can I ask Colleen? Could you just talk us through some of the specific challenges that COVID has presented for your organisation and for this care home in Redbourn? Could you just talk us through what challenges are and what you've managed to achieve?
Yes, certainly, of course. So I work for the organisation B&M Care. I've been coordinating the coronavirus response over the past, 7 months. So like everyone, this has been a sort of once-in-a-lifetime, unprecedented challenge, like nothing we've ever faced before, specifically for the care industry, care home sector. We're faced with the reality that all of our clients and several of our staff members are in the extremely clinically vulnerable group, which has been a massive challenge. Added to that, the fact that this is an emerging disease with very little knowledge of how it behaves, the fact that the social care system was already at its limit before this, and of course it was here in the UK before the country fully realised and recognised that it was here. So we've had to cope with all of that. However, when you break it down, as I think it's Ivan had explained, it's just a tiny germ.
tiny invisible germ, and you can completely deal with it with soap and water. In our industry, we've always managed influenza and other outbreaks effectively. So a lot of the responses that we needed to use to deal with COVID were already in our policies, albeit for different illnesses. And it has simply been a matter of enhancing and sustaining the stringent infection control policies in all of our care homes. As well as that, we've had to source, which wasn't always easy, especially at the start of this, and train and implement all of our staff in all of our care homes to wear face masks and the other appropriate PPE. And it's not easy to get used to wearing a face mask for 12 hours during a day. I think we've all struggled with that at times. So we went into the cocooning phase very early. We cocooned all of our care homes, including St Matthew's, on the 11th of March, which was several weeks before the government advised care homes to do so. However, despite that, we have had some cases, but thanks to the rapid isolation of residents in our care homes, all of our outbreaks were quickly brought under control. So the situation that we're in now in St Matthew's and other homes is that we're...
So just in case anybody needs it, the Redbourn Care Group telephone number, they're every day. If you need any help, just call them. It's obviously 018582, and it's 794550. That's 794550. And look, thank you very much for taking the trouble to call in. Stay safe, and I hope you enjoy the warm weather that's coming up. And look forward to listening to Simon's dulcet tones next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Chris. Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.